my name's James Nicholson. Welcome to my YouTube channel. The budget is over. There's some stuff that wasn't included in there that was rumoured for the last few weeks. There's some extra stuff in there that wasn't even mentioned in the leaks leading up to the budget. There's some really bad stuff in there. In fact, look, I'll just be frank, it's not a good budget in my opinion. There is so much tax in here. It's going to put a real burden on businesses. I think you're going to see the unemployment rate rise after what I've got to share with you today, because so much here is anti-business, anti-landlord, anti-property, anti-growth, anti-growing a country. I don't think it's a good budget. I think you can tell that right now. So before we jump into what has happened, what stuck, what didn't stick, I've watched all of the stuff that happened, and I've really written a lot of notes. I haven't got a little post-it note on this. I've got tons of notes here that I want to go through with you on exactly what happened in today's budget and the impact it will have on all of us going forward. Now, before we jump into this, if you're new around here and you haven't done already, do subscribe to the channel over there and hit that bell notification. There's going to be more videos after this video because we're going to need to break some of this stuff down in more detail, I think. But we'll go through everything that we've got here. Let's make sure we get some views on this video. I think it's really important that everyone understands what's happened in the budget. So your part in that is simple. Smash like, tick or like, do something to the like button. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm, and that really does help the channel grow. So thanks to everyone that does that. So those of you that want me to write on the whole whiteboard, we're probably going to have to do that today because there is a lot of stuff in here that we're going to cover. So let's start by saying the tax raised from this budget is a record high. It's 38% of all of our GDP, which is crazy. On Sky News, they talked about the tax rates have only ever been higher in world wars, and even then they didn't collect that much. This is all likely to get collected due to the fact that we're in a digital world now. So yeah, 38%. Crazy. You can see why people are moving to Dubai and these other countries. And this tax rate is going to give the government an extra £26 billion. Now, the key point before all of this, it was a little easier to get details on this because the budget in whole leaked. The Office of Budget Responsibility, their goal was to put it up on their website. And some poor person that worked there made that webpage live before the budget was even happening. So Sky News, where I was watching it, were talking about all of this stuff way before, about an hour before it even actually happened. So it gave us a little bit more time to find out about stuff, do our research and stuff like that. So it was actually helpful in my opinion. So let's talk about income tax first. So that was something that I think we knew was going to happen. And so income tax, the thresholds have been frozen. So you can earn £12,750 without being taxed in the UK. But pretty much a lot of people fall into that tax bracket now, whether they're working part-time or full-time on minimum wage, you would be likely to fall into that tax bracket. And just this year, basic tax rate payers, there's going to be 780,000 additional basic tax rate payers. On the higher rate tax, because the thresholds are kept at that level as well, 4.8 million extra people will go into that, and that's going to raise them billions and billions of pounds. So yeah, not good. That's what we call a stealth tax. That should have been going up. It used to go up a little bit, like 500 quid every year. That hasn't gone up for a long time. It's not going to go up before 2030 now at the earliest. So yeah, stealth tax there. Let's look at some of the other ones. EVs. I might not do these in the order I've got them on here. I'm going to do them in the most important ones in order. So EVs, this one's annoying. So I spoke to my partner Katie. She just has a nice little Kia that she drives around in. She likes a little small nippy car. She pays for a petrol car, £200 per year in tax. Electric vehicles have been exempt from that. They're still going to be exempt, but they're going to pay a per mile thing now. Now, I do at least 10,000 miles per year, and so I will be paying, they're going to be charging people 3p per mile that they drive. What's also frustrating, I'd imagine that'll be at the time, they'll calculate that at the time you do your MOT. Not sure exactly. If you think that's going to be different, let me know in the comments. But I'd imagine that gets logged. It would be the easiest way to get someone to do that. So they'll log how many miles you've driven. You will be paying 3p per mile. What's interesting here is that Katie drives a petrol car, which we're meant to be getting rid of. She'll pay £200 a year. If I drive 10,000 miles, I'll be paying £300 per year. Not sure that's fair. So she could drive 20,000 miles a year if she chose in a petrol car and pay less tax than I would driving an electric vehicle, which the government has been pushing for this energy stuff, which shows some of this stuff is a farce. Let me know what you think about that one. So that's the EP stuff. The EV stuff. There's a lot of property ones, but let's just get some of the other ones out of the way. Gambling. They are going to increase taxes on gambling, but they're excluding some because some of their rich backers maybe have chosen this, but they're not going to include horse racing. So horse racing won't have any increases in tax, but online gambling will. And so, yeah, that's going up. So not massively relevant to this channel, but some of you might be a bit annoyed about that. Next one, child benefit. You might be surprised what I'm going to say about this one. So, child benefit is currently capped that you don't get extra child benefit if you have more than 2 children. So if you have 3 children, the 3rd child, 4th child, 5th child, 6th child, whatever it is that you got, you don't get child benefit for them. Now, that's changing. The 2 child benefit cap is being lifted, and so you will get an additional £3,200 per child. They said there are 18,000 families in the UK that would be better off 14 grand in extra benefits they're going to get per year. But for a lot of people, I worked this out for some of my friends, they're going to be, maybe 9-10 grand better off a year, which isn't bad. And yeah, that will help them out. Now, I think that's good because one thing that you do have as a problem is that populations aren't growing at the moment. The UK population is growing by immigration, but longer term birth rates are down, and you need to encourage people to have children or the human population will have a big problem in the near future. And so China put a 1-child policy on for decades, and that's kind of backfired now, and now they've got lots of old people but no young people to look after those old people. So you do need to keep people having babies, and this should help that. Now, some of you will say, yes, you're giving lots more benefits to people that don't work. Maybe true, but this is, I think, fair. And that one is going to cost them £3 billion. But yeah, I'm fine with that. Next, fuel duty. This kind of impacts affordability. So the fuel duty is being held where it is, but only for 5 months. So you're only going to see the fuel duty held, and then that's going to start to increase. So that means you're going to have more inflation on your fuel, and prices are going to start going up from September, I think it is, next year. You can correct me on any of these if I'm slightly wrong. I have been watching this for 3 hours now trying to take notes. So yeah, there's a chance that some of these are slightly wrong. So apologies. But yeah, fuel duty doesn't really matter that much. We know it's going to go up at some point, but right now it's held for the next 5 months. Next, this one does impact, I think, property, because a lot of people use this to save for their deposit, and that's ISAs. So right now, you can invest £20,000 per year into an ISA tax-free. That's been cut to £12,000 tax-free. But you can get the 20,000, but you've got to put 8,000 into a stocks and shares ISA. Now, that's not for everyone. If the stock market has a big drop, then that's a lot more risky for people. But that's what they want to do. There's nearly £1 trillion in ISAs that isn't invested in stocks and shares ISAs. They want you to move it across and invest in the stock market and keep that going. They said that a lot of people would have made tens of thousands of pounds more if they invested in an index tracker long term. So yeah, that's what they're looking at here. So you can still get your 20 grand, but you only get 12 grand in a savings account, and 8 grand will have to go into a more risky stocks and shares ISA. I'm not sure on that one. I don't think that's right for a lot of people. People like certainty. So what I think ultimately will happen, this might be the government's plan, let me know on this one, is that people will spend that money. So that will get the economy going. They don't want you saving, they're basically saying here. That's what I read it as. And I think that is good for the economy and good for businesses, but not good for people to not have money for a rainy day. So that's the stocks and shares ISA stuff. This one is the media have made out that this is the worst one. I think this could be true as well. And that's all about salary sacrifice. I don't have this, so I don't know loads about it, but I've researched it before I made this video. So right now, you can give up some of your salary, and that salary goes into your pension pot. So you can sacrifice some of your salary to go into your pension pot, and you don't pay national insurance on there. So it's quite attractive to do that. And that means a lot of people top up their pensions and get bigger pensions due to that. They're getting rid of that now, and you will have to pay after 2,000. So you get £2,000 you can do anyway, but anything above that £2,000 that you sacrifice from your salary, you will pay national insurance on. And that's bonkers, if you ask me, because all we hear about is people don't have pensions. And for me, that just affirms my decision that investing in property was a smart choice. Now, there are some bad things for property that I'm going to cover in this, but I still believe that my properties are my best pension. Those of you that are selling your assets and properties due to Renters' Rights Act and stuff like that, EPC, that's not me. I'm keeping properties or buying more properties. That's my goal here. And so this salary sacrifice, I think, is stupid, because I think you want to encourage people to build a bigger pension pot. And this, I think, will mean some people will put less money into their pension pot, and they estimate that people's pension pots will be tens of thousands of pounds smaller because of this, because less money is invested, because some of it's been stolen by national insurance, and the compounding on that could be really, really bad for people. So I think this is a bad policy. I agree with the media on that. Let me know what you think about that one. You've got till 2029, so you can top up and use your salary sacrifice for as much as you can until then. So, not good. What else have we got? Something that wasn't covered. Stamp duty. Nothing happened on stamp duty. And two places were right on that. The Telegraph and the Times. Yesterday I made a video. They said, which was shared in the video, that the stamp duty wouldn't be touched, and it wasn't touched at all. So that's, is that a win or not a win? I don't know. I think we didn't get the property tax, which is, I think, good. But yeah, we could have done with bringing that down to get the property market moving. But that's not happening. So nothing happened on stamp duty. Taxi tax. That's one to talk about. This is stupid, I think. And so they are going to put tax on taxi rides. Not great. I don't think that helps small independent businesses like restaurants, like bars. If you have a night out and there's going to be a really big taxi bill at the end of the night, they're already big. I go out in central London sometimes. I live in a place called Hooley, just near Hooley. It's only about 14 miles to central London, and it costs me in an evening 100 quid to get back. If you put a 20% charge on top of that, you're going to get lots of people that think, you know what, I can't be bothered. And that will impact restaurants and bars and theatres and the nightlife trade. So yeah, I don't think that's particularly smart, but that is what they're going with. Next, I'm going to call the Temu tax. If you buy on Temu, you know what that is. Temu is like Alibaba, Wish. It's one of these apps where you buy directly from China. And a lot of people do that and they save a fortune with that stuff. The government is saying that import duties will be now due on all levels of product. That's going to make things more complicated to get deliveries. And the goal of that is to help retailers. That's what they positioned that one as, that retailers get a fairer shot and they don't get crushed by these Chinese companies and the online companies as well. So I'm calling that the Temu tax. So that, yeah, well, that's something that you'll see rolled out. I think America just did something similar to that. Next is the milkshake tax. This is a real thing. So milkshakes have been exempt from sugar tax. This isn't the end of the world. But you know, for example, if you go to Nando's now, you can't get a refill of a normal Coke. They don't allow you to do that because you'll be having too much sugar for the day. You can get Diet Coke, free unlimited refills, but you can't on normal Coke. There's tax if you pay a bottle of normal Coke. It's more expensive than a bottle of Diet Coke now due to the tax. Milkshakes were exempt, they're now not, so they're going to get taxed as a sugary drink. Next, wages. Minimum wage is going up. It's going up 4.1%. That's not bad. That's above inflation, to £12.71. We just recently had an increase in the minimum wage, though, didn't we? And so I think this is good for the employees, but bad for business. And I think this is going to cause more redundancies. Businesses are on their knees. They're struggling. And I think you're going to see some businesses just have to lay people off. If you think about a retail business or a pub or a restaurant, it's hard to make money in those at the moment. With energy costs so high, you're putting up their costs even more. It's not the right time, but it is what it is. It's kind of a hard one, isn't it? Because they need to earn more money. Next is landlord tax. There was a landlord tax. And so landlord tax is going up. And so landlords, your threshold for your income tax is going to be more expensive. So if you pay 20% tax, it's going up by 2%. And that is going to get passed on in higher rents. I'm telling you now. We're talking about Section 24 here. So your Section 24 effectively is going up. So it goes to 22%, 42%, and 47% on rental income. So it's a 2% increase. Not great. I think this is going to hit landlords hard. It's going to be more landlords quit, isn't it? It's not as bad as the national insurance stuff. And so we could be pleased that that didn't happen. And so NI didn't happen. The national insurance didn't happen, but they did put costs up for landlords by 2%. And that's hard because in this level, you don't get mortgage relief anymore. So you can't take off your mortgage payments. So if you're on the 47%, pretty brutal, isn't it? So yeah, I think a lot of landlords would be on the 42 or 47% income tax level there, and probably more will quit. So that's landlord tax, not great. Business rates, let's talk about those. So I didn't get too much detail on this. If this has come out since, let me know in the comments below. So business rates are going to drop on retail. So they're going to drop business rates on restaurants, on retail. High street rates are going to drop. That's good. Now, hopefully, maybe that counters some of this wage stuff that they've got to contend with. So business rates will drop on retail, but they're going to increase on warehouses, interestingly, because they're saying people that run warehouses, they're selling stuff online most of the time. And so they're making the high street die. And that's probably right. We don't go to the high street because we can get everything on Amazon and Etsy and all these other places. So warehouses, your business rates are going up. Retail, your business rates are going down. I think that's probably fair. And I think that's one of the better policies that I've seen out of today's budget. What else have we got? This is the big one. We've been talking about this for weeks, haven't we? Mansion tax. So, here's what they did with this one. They teased us for weeks, didn't they? So it's going to be this bad. Terrible. You're going to pay 40 grand tax on a £6 million house. It's not going to be that bad. So maybe that's how they sweeten the deal a little bit here. You're going to pay up to, the most you can pay extra is £7,500. They think on average, people that have properties above £2 million, they think the average will be 4.5 grand. This is on top of your council tax. This is an extra charge on top of your council tax. You still pay your council tax. On top of this, you're going to get an extra 4.5 grand. The problem with this is that I think a lot of people won't have a problem with it to start with, but they will edge this down. They will edge this down, and this will become a stealth tax. And what I mean by that is more people will fall into this level as house prices go up, or they bring their level down. Maybe in the next budget or in a couple of budgets, they bring it down to £1.5 million. Then there's more people going up as well. This isn't going to raise them a lot of money at the moment. They're saying it's going to raise about £400 million. So not loads, but it will raise some money that can help fund stuff. This really does hit people that are asset rich and cash poor, which there is a lot of people that are like that. They might own this mega property that's worth loads of money, and that could be a flat, right? So don't just think that this is someone living in a 10-bedroom house. I think you would have been better to do it on square footage rather than the value of the property. And so that's what I would have looked at if I was them, but they didn't decide to do that. So you could get someone that bought in Chelsea, Kensington, wherever. They bought a nice flat years ago, decades ago, had no idea that this was going to happen. They've retired for 20 years and they're now suddenly getting a 5 grand extra bill. It's not great. I don't think it's the right thing, but this is what they want to do. What else have they got here? There's a few other things here. The big one here is the dividend stuff. This isn't good. So small businesses are going to be taxed 2% extra on their dividends. Now, that's not good because that doesn't incentivize business. If you need a business to do well, hire people, invest in growing, they need to make some profits. This dividend tax is going to hit small business owners, not the big, large corporations. And so the dividend tax is going up on 2%, by 2%. So a small business, the lowest tax you used to pay was 8.75%. And don't forget, right? That's like, that's not great. So it's 8.75% going to 10.75%. The higher tax, the middle tax, 33% to 35%, and the top end dividend tax, 39% to 41%. But these businesses have paid business rates. They've paid national insurance contributions on their staff. They paid VAT. And then the director has to pay tax as well when they take the money out of the business. It's not much left. And I don't think you're inspiring people to start a business by doing this. So look, this hits everyone, whether you're employed, unemployed, have a business or not. So we're going to have to adapt. There's nothing we can do. Is this as bad as it could have been? No. We didn't have changes in stamp duty. We didn't have national insurance. But there is stuff that we weren't expecting. The dividend tax isn't great. The landlord tax isn't great. It's not a great budget. I don't believe that taxing people this much, this is the most we've ever been taxed ever, is a way to grow a country. But you might feel differently. So, what's your options? Well, you've got to adapt and you've got to look at creating income. Your pension's going to be a lot harder than before. And for me, property is still that pension. Even with these extra costs, running a property, what this shows is running a property through a limited company is really the only way you can do it now. And with that in mind, you've got a few days left on our Black Friday offer. So make sure you grab a copy of that while you're here. It's in the description. It's in the first comment. In the Black Friday deal, you'll learn how to build assets that you can increase in value. We're talking buy, refurbish, refinance, rent. We're talking when you built a property or bought a property and that added value, how can you cash flow that? You need more cash flow now because you're going to pay more tax. So HMOs, serviced accommodation, they're very good. And because of this, there's going to be a ton of landlords that want to quit. You'll see lots in the comments on the videos here. Now, they're not all going to be able to sell their properties immediately. And so you can control those properties with something called a lease option. That's where you can get control of the property for £1 and then purchase it at a later date. That can take the liability away from that landlord. So we cover all of that in the Property Accelerator, and there's loads more. Check it out at least while you're here. And let me know what you think about this budget. I think it's a brutal one. Do smash like, do share this video with someone, and check out all the other content as well on the channel, including this video right here.